Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to a very special Monday Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. With Suj not back from holiday until tomorrow, I've got two banging guests on for arguably the biggest clash of the correspondents that we've ever had ahead of a potential title decider this forthcoming Sunday. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Manchester City correspondent, Jonny Pringle. How are you, Jonny?
Yeah, good. Thank you, James.
Jonny sounds like shit because he went to a stag do on Saturday night and he's feeling sorry for himself a little bit.
Yeah, a bit rough.
And let me introduce you to our Liverpool correspondent, Dan Lord. How are you, Dan?
You all right, James?
Very well, thank you, mate. I should just point out that we are pre-recording this late on Sunday night. So if you think I'm smiling more than usual, you know why. Right, Jonny, I was asked last week how I thought the Premier League would be viewed in 10 years' time, this era of it now. How would we remember it? And I answered and said, I think we'll remember it as Guardiola versus Klopp, like we talk about the Ferguson versus Wenger era. How do you feel about this period of time with the two of you and how good you both are?
I think it's just been amazing to watch. I think we are two of the best teams in the Premier League era, at the peak of the powers, competing at the same time. And yeah, it's great to see. I think both teams have elevated the standards that we've been used to, just to levels that we just never seen before.
Do you feel like that? Like Liverpool just won't go away? Is that I get the feeling they're the one team that worry you, which is obvious, I guess.
I think the perspective is from both teams is that if the other weren't as good as they are, then we just let's say if Liverpool weren't as good as they are, City would just be dominant, be winning the league every season, just sweeping it up. And I bet Liverpool fans are kicking themselves a little bit, thinking, God, this is the best we've ever been in the Premier League era. Why does City have to be so good at the same time? But yeah.
Do you feel that way as well, Dan? Like the elevating of each other, like it almost feels like even just going away to, I don't know, somewhere middle of the road, you feel like you cannot afford to draw the game because you know they're going to win. Does it feel like that all the time?
All the time, yeah. It's like Jonny said. It's a bit unfortunate as a long time Liverpool fan and a few years older than Jonny. I remember the good times, which I always dwell upon, when I was a lot younger, and we've had nothing for ages, and now we finally have a really good team, and then fucking City are here, aren't they? Just to piss everyone off and stop it. You know what I mean? Like Jonny said, if it weren't us around, City would walk it, and if it weren't City around, then it'd be us every season. Or recently, City have been good for a while longer than we have.
Do you think it's fair to say that if City weren't around, you probably wouldn't get to the points total that you would, and vice versa?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like the old argument with Ronaldo and Messi, isn't it? The other one pushes the other one to be better. I think it's absolutely the case in Liverpool City case.
Do you think, Jonny, looking back to, I know we had a conversation after you beat Chelsea in January, it sort of looked like it was probably done. And a lot of people were saying it was, and you and I were very cautious. And I think because of Liverpool, particularly, obviously, do you look back on that now in hindsight and think it was done?
No, I mean it was close. Everything was looking obviously like it was going to line up for just another City sort of like stroll, wasn't it? But I think the key thing is obviously the run Liverpool have put together. Obviously, have just been so good since. Because that's what got City into that position in the first place. Was how many games did we win in a row? Was it like 12, 13 again? And Liverpool have just managed to put together like a 10, 11 game winning streak. I don't actually think City have done much wrong. I think like the Southampton and Crystal Palace results are sort of like normal results in title races. Like you say, James, I think the Spurs one was the disaster. But like I say, I think City have sort of just been ticking along nicely. Like I say, it's just the run that Liverpool have put together that meant they've dragged themselves back into it.
Do you think it was over, Dan? You reflect on that? Like with Salah and Mane going to AFCON, it was a big gap at the time, wasn't it, in January?
Yeah, I was definitely worried, but I did the podcast with you, didn't I, and Andy Martin, and you said, is it over? I said, well, City are a top team. However, while it's still mathematically possible, we'll still give it a go. And like I say, we're 10 wins on the bounce now, and City have dropped a few points. So it's there, isn't it? It's still touching distance and a lot closer than it was before.
It's 10 wins in a row. How many games you got left, Dan? Is it 8, I want to say, or 9? 8. It's going to have to be 18 wins in a row, isn't it? Or do you think not?
I don't live up to this kind of the City game is a massive game. Don't get it wrong, but if we were to win that game, I wouldn't think, right, that's it, we've won it, and vice versa. I'd hope that City won't think, well, that's 5 points now, it's fine. You know what I mean? There's always a banana skin somewhere, isn't there? You know, where it's like you expect, you know, the team to. Even yesterday, Liverpool were a bit edgy at 0-0, and Watford had a couple of half chances, and even at 1-0, you know, it could have easily been a different result.
Does this feel different, Jonny, to the 18-19 season, where you were basically both in the same position as you're in now, 1 point advantage to City, and every week you knew you had to win because Liverpool kept winning? Obviously, in that scenario, you didn't have the fixture against each other to come. Does it feel a bit different this time around because of the Tottenham, Southampton, Palace results? That is something psychologically has gone, oh, there's a couple of games there we dropped points we wouldn't expect to.
Yeah, I think so, because it was the reverse last time, wasn't it? We managed to drag ourselves back.
That's right, yeah.
Managed to get top spot, and it was like, right, well, let's cling on to this now. Whereas now, obviously, having been so far ahead and that Liverpool have closed the gap, you're right in that psychologically it's a bit like, oh, where's this come from? And yeah, like I say, got a proper title race on our hands. But we're experienced in it. Like I said, we've done it plenty of times before. There's a saying amongst the City fans that we don't lose title races, we either win them or we're not in them altogether. Because when we don't win the league, we're usually about 20 points behind, aren't we? But no, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Looking forward to it.
Is this the best City team? Is this better than the Centurions team, or?
Oh, I don't know. But there was a podcast on this at the start of the season. No, I wouldn't say this team this season. Last season it felt like it might be the best iteration, but this season I think there's just obviously the lack of a striker, I think, is the thing that puts us apart. But I think the Centurions team was probably the best or most thrilling to watch. I think the most rounded team was probably last year's that got to the Champions League final. I think we haven't hit that. Yeah, we won't talk about that. We haven't hit the same heights as last season, I don't think. Yeah, but obviously it's still unbelievable team.
How do you rate them, Dan, compared to United team, the Arsenal 04 team, the Mourinho, the first Mourinho team at Chelsea and the like? How high does the City team rate?
I kind of agree with Jonny to a certain extent. I don't think it's as good as the Centurion team, and one of the obvious reasons is, you know, the Aguero or that central striker who they just come unstuck a few times, don't they, without somebody like that, and obviously they find ways around it. As compared to the other teams, yeah, I think they're well up there. I don't like comparing different eras of football because football moves on so quickly. You know, was it Pele? Was it Maradona? I don't know. Would Pele have been any good these days, or would he not have us a minute on the ball? And, you know, even in 15, 20 years, football's got a lot faster.
I think he'd still get in the Man United team now, wouldn't he? I mean, you both appreciate that comment, I presume.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Arsenal team, you know, with Henry, Petit, Vieira, that was a quality team. I don't talk about United. They're always shit. Whether they're good or not, they're still shit.
There's one thing I could do is drop in to get you to agree on stuff. Obviously drop Man United into the conversation, I'm sure. But do you think this rivalry, what is this as a rivalry? Is it just competitive? There's no friction between the clubs, is there? Or is it something more now, Jonny? Do you kind of hate them? I don't mean to United level, but it's a modern rivalry, isn't it? Because of the competitive nature.
I think City fans always just have a soft spot for Liverpool because of how much United hated them.
Yeah, I get that.
I remember thinking back to like when the year they nearly won it in 2008 or 2009 when they beat them 4-1 at Old Trafford. We were buzzing. But yeah, I think it's weird. I think, to be fair, I think a lot of City fans have sort of learnt a few reasons why United fans dislike the Scousers so much, because they can be really annoying. I think we do irritate each other, to be fair, and I think that underlying sort of like Mank versus Scouse rivalry, I think, where it comes from. But yeah, it is a bit of a weird one. It's just a really good sort of modern football rivalry. I think people like to. I see it labelled as like a fake rivalry, but it is a proper rivalry. The fans don't like each other.
Is that the same for you, Dan? Have you learned things about them that you don't like as well?
Not particular. The only thing that City have only been a team, haven't they, for a while? Let's face it. So it's not that long-standing rivalry. It's not a rivalry like it is with us in United or us with Everton. It never will be. It's only that for me. It's only the competitiveness of that. If we want to win something, we have to beat City. It's as simple as that. And that's where it comes down to me. I don't have any qualms with them. I know plenty of City fans, and I know plenty of United fans, and I don't have any problems with. But I just don't like United, and I don't like Everton for obvious reasons. But City, I don't dislike them. I just don't want them to win because they're there.
Just very quickly, Dan, would you want Everton to go down?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so harsh.
I don't think of anything better.
You would though, wouldn't you? I was thinking about this the other day. Someone asked me, like, would you rather City win the league or United get relegated? And I think I would pick United getting relegated now.
Wow. I would definitely take Tottenham winning the league over Arsenal.
City have already won the league, obviously, a few times. City have already won the league, obviously, a few times now. Obviously, it'd be different if they hadn't, but United getting relegated would just be so funny.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that one, mate, but Everton are definitely banging trouble. Big game for them on Wednesday, obviously. Dan, I obviously asked Jonny about comparing the City teams. And I know for you, it's even more difficult to compare like back to the 80s teams and stuff like that. But when you look at the points totals and what the team does, this is up there with one of the best Liverpools of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the best Premier League era.
Yeah.
This team currently, on paper and depth is better than anyone we've had. It's got better with the likes of Diaz and Jota, in addition to Firmino, Mane, Salah. We've just got more depth this time. We can rotate midfielders and hope, know the guys will do a job and rotate the forwards. And even the defenders now, where we've not had that in the past. It's always been a worry, like, if one or two get injured, then we're up against it because the backups aren't great. But, even people like Tsimikas has come in and done really, really well. And before we never had that. Obviously, we don't have the depths like City where, you lose a left back or a right back or a centre back. You just bring another international in who's not just an international, but for a top international team as well. So, we don't have that kind of depth, but we still have as good as we've had.
Jonny, how do you feel about Klopp?
Yeah, I don't mind him. Quite like him, to be fair. He's got to obviously show a lot of respect. I think with both Klopp and Guardiola, sometimes like some of the quotes, the snippets can come across as really arrogant, can't they? Or a little sound bites. But no, you just got to give him total respect. He's I think the two best managers in the world. You have to hold your hands up.
I was going to say, I can't argue that comment at all. And yourself, Dan, how do you feel about Guardiola?
Yeah, similar. I feel like I think the different kind of managers. I think Pep is probably a lot better tactically, but Klopp has that aura about him, which any player who plays for him wants to put in a shift just for Klopp because he's, I think he's like he'd run through that brick wall and he'll do it for Klopp. Just because he's so likable, even I've got United friends who actually like Klopp. You know what I mean? And you don't like opposing team managers, like rivals managers. You're not allowed to. And he's just a likable person. But yeah, the two are the best, aren't they? Around, like I say, tactically, I'd say Pep was better. But the kind of the aura that Klopp brings. I love him. He can adopt me tomorrow if he wants. I'll be his son.
I can understand that. Is that fair, Jonny? That Guardiola's better tactically, or do you also feel like people will run through brick walls for him as well?
Yeah, I think so. I know what Dan means. I think that is why sort of the rivalry is so special, because their styles are so different. The two such different managers who have come up with such different football teams. But yeah, no, I think I'd go along with that. I think like Pep traditionally has tried to come up with more sort of like systems, innovation, stuff like that. It seems to be like obviously a bit more tactical, but Klopp, I think he's more like what's it, football and vibes, whatever.
The rock and roll stuff.
Yeah, that's it. What's it? Heavy metal football. That's it.
So moving on towards the weekend, and we know you've both got Champions League games coming first, and do want to talk about them a little bit as well. There's only 4 teams you haven't beat this season, Jonny. Tottenham twice, Palace twice, Southampton twice, and Liverpool once. Why do you think that is? And is that statistic a concern going into Sunday?
I don't know. I reckon that's just some weird coincidence that's happened. Again, the Southampton Palace results, I think in the end, we were quite unlucky in them to have not won. However, there might be something in it stylistically.
But all 3 of those teams are different. And I mean, even in terms of Tottenham played, it was 2 different managers, right? So there's nothing you can, I mean, there's something weird going on with that fixture, which I still can't explain.
Before, Tottenham just have some weird voodoo shit over the City, don't we? But
we might challenge for the league if we played you every week, mate.
Yeah.
We might win it if you played them every week.
True as well. But we spoke about Southampton ages ago after you drew 0-0 at home to them, and we spoke about the awkwardness and the fact that they come and they're quite brave and they'll come and get in your face and press and stuff. But Palace rather sat behind the ball with you, wanted to wait, obviously spring and counter attack with their fast players and stuff. So there's nothing even stylistically between Southampton, Palace, Tottenham that I think gives us a clue to say why. I just think you're right. It's a freak, isn't it?
Yeah. And going back to Liverpool, I think Liverpool's style is what's it, sort of City's kryptonite. The way that Liverpool press, they're the best at it. I think the recent games against Liverpool, I think we've learned to manage them a bit better. Like in the Centurion season, obviously it was just so frantic. We just couldn't go to Anfield and hold our bottle for longer than 10 minutes. But like I said, in the recent years, I think we have the performances and results against Liverpool have come on. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes on this time. We've had a decent record at the Etihad. Obviously, we've had an appalling record at Anfield, but at the same time, is that we've had quite a good record at the Etihad.
I feel like I want to say it's 1 league defeat at home in about 10 years. I think I want to say, which was I'm pretty sure it was Klopp's first visit when they beat 4-1. I think when Pellegrini would have been in charge. I should imagine going back to that. Yeah. And they turned you over in the second leg of the Champions League quarterfinal as well. But they did have the advantage of a 3-goal head start. You speak there about perhaps making the game less frantic against Liverpool. Do you feel like that's key? Slow the pace of the game completely and almost pass them to death.
Yeah, it is just like Uber, all about control. I remember that the game in 18-19 I went to Anfield. It is just all about, especially at Anfield, it's just more about calming the crowd down than anything. But Liverpool just thrive off the chaos, don't they? The pressing, they want loose balls, turnovers, and it's exactly what Pep hates. So, yeah, we just really try to look after the ball whenever we play Liverpool.
Is that then for you, Dan? Is that the opposite? It's like go there and try and create chaos?
I don't think Liverpool are the same at doing that as they were a couple of seasons ago when they first started coming up with this formation, and it was kind of everyone pressing. They learned that to actually have a prolonged season where you can be in a lot of competitions, they can't do that for 90 minutes every single game. So they pick and choose moments of games, don't they, where they do that. There's triggers, there's trigger plays, there's trigger positions that the opposition set up in, where that's the moment to do the press and everyone's on the same page. Unfortunately, Guradiola will probably know what that is. So it won't be as frantic, I don't think. And I suspect that City will have better possession, but, you know, we can score against anyone at any time.
Do you think you might go for them really early, though? As in first 20 minutes, because I think most people would come to the Etihad and it's the same when teams come play against yourself, Dan, is probably, get through the first 20 minutes. Otherwise, the game's dead, basically, if you concede in that period. Do you feel like you might go for them in the first 20 minutes? Because that's my inkling for it. You might just go and try and win the game at the start and then try and control a bit more.
I'm not sure they will, to be honest. We started poorly in games just recently, I think, particularly after Champions League games as well. So I don't know, but I think it might do, because they've not been doing that just recently. And actually, you have to do something different, don't you, when you play City? You have to have that element of surprise, because they'll be well set up and well drilled as to what to expect, and to throw something different in there, which might be, let's just go hell for leather 15 minutes and let's hope we get a goal. But on the flip side, Klopp might have a tactic of saying, whatever we do today, we don't lose. You know what I mean? We don't have to win it, but we don't lose. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think they will, but I might be wrong.
Do you think if you lose, Dan, and then the gap's 4 points, is that, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. 4 points with still 7 games to go. It's nothing really. But do you think psychologically that's almost it then?
I don't think psychologically, like I said before, whilst it's mathematically still possible, they'll still go for it. But, you can't see City slipping up too often. I know they have a few times, but they're better at controlling games than Liverpool are. When we go ahead, we still look a little bit nervy and suspect of conceding, whereas City go ahead, they keep the ball, and unless they're having a bad day at the office, then they don't look like they're going to concede or not win the game. Whereas we've had a really good record in January as far as kind of, I think we conceded 4 since the turn of the year or something like that, the best out of everyone. But actually, we've been quite fortunate to not concede quite a few more than that. You know what I mean? Alisson's played a blinder in a few games and kept us in it, to be fair. So we're not playing as well as it seems on, with the results that have, 10 back-to-back. Obviously, 10 wins is 10 wins, but half of them could have easily been draws or even losses on some occasions.
Do you think, therefore, it's just a case that you've got so much firepower from so many different avenues now in terms of scoring goals? It's not just Salah, is it? You've got so many avenues that actually pulls you through. Because we have seen that even in the 18-19 season, when obviously you lost Alisson early, man, the silly goals you were conceding and stuff, but you just end up blitzing teams 3-4-1 like every week, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we're a little bit different to that now. We've kind of matured a little bit and played a little bit differently. But we don't batter teams like that anymore. It's more controlled, or try to be controlled. Like I say, we don't do it as well as City, but we're 1-0 up and we'll end up winning 2-0 or something like that, instead of going 3-4, 5-1, 5-2, whatever it may be. It's a little bit different the last kind of 18 months, 2 years.
Would you rather win the Premier League or the Champions League?
Premier League.
Is that the same answer for you, Jonny?
No, not anymore. I think typically it would always be the Premier League, because it's your bread and butter, and I agree in most seasons, but just in the last couple of years, we just need to win the Champions League, get that monkey off our back now. I think, like I say, it would be Premier League most seasons, but it's just started to turn for me in the last couple. I just think we need to win the Champions League.
Do you think that could be a factor in the running?
No, because I don't know. Actually, I don't know whether Pep will think the same.
We've discussed this in the past, haven't we? This kind of idea, which is really unfair, that in certain ways you can be considered by some people to fail if you don't win that competition, because it's gone on for a while, and obviously you've been close. Obviously, last year we'll move on from the final and stuff, but that pressure with City specifically and Champions League lingers, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's starting to. I think it's obviously going back to Guardiola's record at Bayern Munich as well. The fact that we couldn't win the Champions League without Messi. I think it's just stemmed from there. It's more. It felt like for years it was more like Guardiola's Champions League record, but then recently it has sort of started to filter through to just City as well. Like, how have a team this good not done better in it?
Was you happy with the draw?
Atletico.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. Yeah. I think so. think Liverpool have got obviously slightly easy draw, but no, watch that. Let's see the 2 legs against United. Obviously the bastards aren't to play against, especially
really
if you go
are,
behind.
mate.
We've never played them. I've always thought it would be really interesting for City to come up against Atletico because we've never played them before. The only sort of like, yeah, we've never played them before. The only get reference or game you can use for references. Do you remember that Bayern?
I was going to say the semi-final
tie-in. Yeah, where Bayern like absolutely peppered them, missed a penalty. I just hope it doesn't turn into a game like that. But I watched them, and it's not like they're absolute lightning on the counter attack. They obviously play like counter attacking football, but I think they're more like stubborn, aren't they? Gritty, try and nick goals. I think we should be able to manage them quite well. I think we should be able to go through.
You obviously went out some couple of years ago, Dan. Johnny's spot on. Is that they are bastards to play against, aren't they?
Yeah, they'll hate it. Will City? They'll do anything, and City go off flow, don't they? The game flows with City. They'll stop it and stop it and stop it. Yeah, they're fucking arseholes to play against. And Simeone's a master at it, and they do it very, very well. And it's frustrating as a when they're playing your team, but actually it's a skill in itself the way they're able to do that in games. And they weigh the ref up early on, don't they? They put a few tackles in, see how the refs, what's he going to be like this game? And if he lets a few go, he'll be like, right,
yeah, we're in it.
More, hit him even harder, and wait till the card comes out, and then we'll back off for a little bit, and then and it'll be stop. There'll be picky fouls all over. They'll be lying on the floor. They'll be eating up time. It won't be a good watch for Johnny, that's for sure. But
yeah. You looking forward to that Tuesday night, Johnny?
No, yeah, like I say, I am. I think there's been a recurring theme with City this year about the first goal has been really key. I think it usually is with City, but it's been magnified this season. We haven't dropped points in a Premier League game that we've gone ahead in.
Is that right? So if you scored first, you always win, basically. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that feels like against Atletico is really key. Like I say, you can't afford to go down to them.
Do you feel like it's?
But I think like I said on the flip side, if we go 1 or 2 up, I think we should. I can see us maybe like being it quite simple for us, but it's just whether you go that goal up. I can easily see the first leg ending 0-0, and then you've got to go over there. It's
I was going to say,
game.
Do you see the tie finishing like 1-0 on aggregate, for example? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, tight. Probably something like 2-1 or something. I don't know. Like I said, I've just got no reference to go off. I don't know how this City team will react to playing Atletico.
Dan, you must have been happy with your draw.
Yeah, I think on paper, I mean, it'll be hostile in Benfica. They've got a good fan base, haven't they? And it's a loud stadium. But yeah, I think from the teams that are left, arguably they're probably on paper the weakest one in there, aren't they? But I suppose we already know, and to win the Champions League, you've got to beat everyone. So it doesn't really matter, who you've got. You've still got to beat them at some point.
You wouldn't have been happy if you drew each other, would you?
I think the timing of the league fixture meant that the draw is really important as well. Because obviously, like if one of us had got a really tough tie and the other one had got quite a simple tie, that would have really changed the dynamic. So the fact that both of us have sort of got teams of, I think Atletico, most people would say are better than Benfica.
Then, so then with that in Sunday in mind, I mean, it's conceivable that Liverpool go to Benfica, win 2-0, come back. Well, it's also conceivable you might draw 1-1 at home, for example. Does that then have an impact for you on Sunday?
I just think that Sunday will.
It's too big, right?
Yeah. I think Pep just keeps saying, just take one game at a time. Let's just see what happens. I think he'll play the first leg. Obviously, the ideal would be to have a nice, comfortable lead, and then you can just go all out in the Liverpool game before maybe resting a few in the second leg. But I think he'll go all out in the Liverpool game, even if we need something from the second leg.
If you get to the Champions League final, Johnny, who do you think you play?
Who is it on that side of the draw? It's basically Liverpool v Bayern Munich, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully not Liverpool, because I'd probably have to be sedated for a Champions League final against Liverpool.
Dan, same question. If you got there, does it feel like you'll play City, or I mean, it probably does, doesn't it? That City would definitely be favourites on their side against Real Madrid or Chelsea should they beat Atletico.
Real Madrid as well. They always turn it on, don't they, for Champions League? They can be shit all season, and then suddenly you saw it against Paris Saint-Germain. They absolutely battered them, didn't they, on that second leg? It depends. It depends how the league's standing at that moment. I wouldn't like to fucking lose the league and the Champions League to City. That would do my head in that one.
No, you're trying to bring up my own final, the one and only ever in 2019, which I'm not going to bring up again. It was too hot for us, Dan. I'm just going to leave it there. Where does the FA Cup semi-final fall into this, guys? Is it, and I'll come to you first, Johnny, is it a nuisance and irrelevant, or do you want to smash them at Wembley as well?
Yeah, obviously you want to win every game against Liverpool. And again, and we're not even thinking about it in my head. I've just got this little sort of period of a Champions League fixture straddling the league fixture. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being the game that Pep and Klopp rotated a little bit slightly. But it's just another opportunity to put a marker down, isn't it, in the rivalry? So it'll be a big game for sure.
Dan, for yourself, is that important?
It's a bit of a nuisance, to be honest. It is a nuisance.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because you haven't won it for quite a while.
I know, but I'm not really bothered about the FA Cup these days. And the reason it becomes a nuisance is because we got Benfica, then City, then Benfica, then United, then Everton, with the City one in between, after the second leg and before United. I could do with it out there. It's like,
what a run that is. Champions League quarterfinal City, Champions League quarterfinal City, United, Everton. What a run that is. The thing is with yourself, though, don't you? Capable of winning all of them. As well as Dan got a point there, Johnny, because obviously Liverpool have got United 3 days after the semi-final, where you've got Brighton 4 days afterwards.
Yeah. I think from the early inkling, I don't know whether Dan agrees that maybe Klopp or the players will sort of feel similar. Maybe that might mean that City sort of have the edge. But I don't know, something feels different with Liverpool this year in that previously Klopp's just disregarded the FA Cup and League Cup, hasn't he? But I think he's started to realise with the new depth they've got that they can sweep up as well. And they need more trophies, Liverpool, to reflect this era. Like I say, City have sort of swept up and padded out the league titles with FA Cups and League Cups. But it feels like Liverpool do need a bit more sort of silverware on the side to reflect or to mark this great era they're having.
Is that fair, Dan? Because not a lot of people are talking about it, but quadruple's on the table here, mate. It's an opportunity to be immortal.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's there, it's an opportunity, but I don't hold any aspirations of being able to win all four of them. I don't think that's possible. If it does, I might just retire from watching football and that's it. It's never going to get any better, is it? Let's face it. So
my team on the quadruple are going to Desert Island, mate. See how my days there.
I think, like Johnny said, it's because we have that depth now. We've been able to. And it might also be that, it looked like City had wrapped it up quite early on the league, and they probably thought, right, well, we're not going to win the league. Let's get another trophy and put, all eggs in the FA Cup and the League Cup basket. And actually,
do you think that's the case? Because I was actually surprised, particularly the strength of the teams you played in the Arsenal semi-final. I was surprised because going into the draw, I was thinking, I'll have Liverpool. Well, genuinely was what I was thinking, because I was thinking, Klopp don't give a shit about that. I'll have Liverpool in the draw. But the team he put out was strong, and it was even like Van Dijk played against Cardiff, I think, in the FA Cup, and a few others did. Is it a case of that? What Johnny said, the depth is there now that's allowed that.
Yeah, it could well be because of that. Who knows? We're not in the dressing room. We're not close to the players, the staff, or anything. But it does feel like you say, stronger teams than ever before. It was always the kids in the League Cup. It was always the fringe players in the FA Cup and maybe one or two others. But like you said, even against Cardiff, we've played a strong team. Kelleher's been kept in goal most of the time through both of the competitions. But other than that, we've had 2 or 3 or 4 even, up to 6 or 7 in some of the games, first team, who you'd expect to start most matches in the teams. And that's not like Liverpool of the Klopp era in these competitions.
Looking ahead to Sunday, Jonny, is there anything particularly you want Guardiola to do with the team? Or does that worry you in itself that Guardiola might try something?
I don't know. I don't know what he'll try. I just hope he just picks for... He's been doing quite well with his selections recently. I think the concern that I have is that I think one of the reasons why we were so good in the Champions League last season was he found his best 11 and played it consistently for the first time ever. That midfield three of Bernardo, Rodri and Gundogan is just such a stable foundation. As good as De Bruyne is, he can be a bit frantic when he plays centre midfield. I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of pushed him further on in that false 9 role on Sunday. I want to see that midfield more, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. I'd like that on Sunday. Get Foden out left, whoever's out there, if Trent's not there, even if he is.
Foden was amazing in the game at Anfield.
Yeah, but that is where Foden's best position is. I think whoever's been playing false 9 this year has sort of had to almost sacrifice a bit of their game. When Foden and Grealish are there,
Grealish has played it quite a lot, hasn't
he? Yeah, like they do okay there, but they're obviously not flourishing there. It sort of almost feels a bit unfair on whoever has to play there. But yeah, I'd quite like to see KDB in the false 9, Foden left, and then Sterling Mahrez. I think it's going to be Stones.
Mahrez, did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, Sterling or Mahrez. I think it's going to be Stones and Laporte, isn't it? I don't think Diaz will be back in time.
Looks that way, yeah, at the moment.
Yeah, but again, that's fine. I think Diaz's level had dropped slightly from like his imperious self last season, but Stones and Laporte have been doing okay. Obviously, Cancelo's just on another planet the whole season.
Yeah,
and then it'll just be Water. It'll just be Kyle Walker, won't it? Kyle Walker. I mean, I've just basically picked the team myself, haven't I? Hope Pep agrees.
Basically, I mean, it's interesting. You made it sound straightforward. And by the way, Johnny's not just told you FPL listeners what the team's going to be. He's just telling you what he wants it to be. No Grealish then. How are you feeling about him?
Yeah, good. I think he's basically doing exactly how I thought he'd be. He's really tidy, but just getting no numbers, is he? And I think that was the concern for most City fans. But there's just so many players that come in the first season of the Pep and just don't hit the heights. Like even players like Mahrez, who was obviously had such a good record in the Premier League already. There's Mahrez, Bernardo, Sane, Rodri, Cancelo. They all just have really quiet first seasons and then just explode in the second season. So I think it has to be the same question next season. I think that's when we'll really start to judge him.
Yeah, I mean, you said that basically pre-season, judging year 2, basically, rather than year 1. You pointed that out and said there's a number of players who kind of get integrated season 1, then expect him to flourish season 2. But if you prefer Foden on the left, he's going to find that tough, isn't he? And that would be the difference.
Yeah, I think long term, I think he might become a number 8, one of the number 8s.
He spoke about that when the transfer went through, didn't he? About that idea.
He hasn't played that at all this season. But I think I remember saying, I think the plan for City in the summer was to sign Kane and let Bernardo go, which is bonkers looking back. But I think because obviously we have to keep Bernardo, I don't think there's been a requirement for Grealish to play in the middle so much, and he's just been part of the front three.
What do you think the summer plan is for forwards as it stands now?
Haaland.
Is that what City are going for?
It sounds like it.
Do you think you get him?
I think it's us or Madrid. It all lines up, doesn't it? Even to the point where I don't think City would stand in his way if he wanted to go on to Real Madrid in the future. I think Real Madrid would stand in his way if he wanted to go on to another league. So City might try and sell that to him. Say, listen, we've got Guardiola in his peak, De Bruyne in his peak, supplying the bullets.
Come
here, and then we'll let you go on to Real Madrid in 5 years' time.
So, Dan, you're not going to bid for Harry Kane, are you? Cheer me up, mate.
I wouldn't have thought so.
You've got enough forwards now, haven't you? What's the best three? In fact, let me rephrase that question. His Champions League final against Man City. Which three do you want to play?
You know what? And I think it might be the case on Sunday. I think he might play a 4-2-3-1 and play
Salah through the middle.
4 of them.
Wow. It'd be such a big call if he did that.
Well, he's done it before, hasn't he? He did it in, I want to say, October and November 20, a couple of seasons ago. And we drew 1-1, but we had the better of the game in that match. And he played, Verge wasn't playing in that game, but we had, Salah was down the middle with Firmino behind, Jota on one wing and Mane on the other.
Yeah.
And it caused City a lot of problems because they didn't expect it. You know, because, well, we don't play like that, do we? We play 4-3-3, 95%.
We've seen it occasionally, particularly later in games, sometimes to kind of, I think if there's been a bit concerned about a left back of the opposition, he's done that to take Salah out the firing line and leave him up top where he can expose the space and stuff. But it'd be a massive call for that on Sunday if he went that way. Would you think Diaz would be the one to miss out then if he did that? I'd
like to see Diaz start, to be honest.
Okay.
I think Mane's he's never got the better of Walker. Not many people do, obviously. No. But I think Diaz has this kind of raw, kind of no fear attitude towards him. He's probably never played against Walker before, so he's just another player to him. Whereas I think probably Walker's inside Mane's head a little bit and said, go on then, go past me because you've never done it before, kind of thing. So the only other thing is I think Mane's a bit smarter off the ball than Diaz. And if Walker does have any faults to his game, I think he gets caught napping sometimes.
Concentration.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always been Cole always get himself out of trouble because his recovery pace is blistering. But yes, positionally, he does have lapses of concentration, although has improved massively from the player that was at Tottenham 4 or 5 years ago. Diaz works really hard though, Dan. Really hard defensively. I remember him tracking like Lamptey and stuff in the Brighton game. So he's happy to get stuck in and go back the other way. Yeah, absolutely. He's just he loves playing football. You know what I mean? And Klopp said himself, he's one of the easiest people to coach because he does things naturally. You don't have to say, this is what you should be doing. He actually does it already. He's got like this, knack or something to be in the right place, right time, press at the right time and come back at the right time. So I'd like to see him start. And I'd like to see a 4-2-3-1, maybe put, maybe Fab and Thiago as the holding two and have a 3 of maybe Diaz on the left. And big call to leave Henderson out in a game like that with his leadership qualities we've spoken about, his importance to you from that perspective in the past as well. Yeah, I mean, he's got more legs than Thiago, so Thiago might be the one who misses out. And he might just play, the usual 4-3-3, and I'm talking absolute balls for 5 minutes. But, I'd like to see him try it just a little bit different. And I think Firmino's always caused problems because he pulls the centre halves out of position, and they don't like to be pulled out of position. His natural game is to come really deep and let the movement behind, and that's I think that's well in that system. If you played that way, presumably you just go and do a man marking job almost on Rodri, wouldn't it? Yeah, as well. I mean, he's I wouldn't say underrated. I wouldn't think City fans underrate him, but he's a very, very good player. Anyone who keeps Fernandinho out of the team. He goes under the radar, does Rodri. He's very good, and he does dictate how City play a lot. You don't see it because you're just looking at the superstars, but actually, he's a great, like Liverpool. Without Fabinho, we look lost sometimes. I have to say, I'm thinking back to a 0-0 you had, Jonny, at Old Trafford in the COVID period, and I'd been meaning to attack Rodri for weeks on the podcast and kept forgetting. And after that game, I was scathing about him. That basically what you'd said, he needs his hand held a lot. And since then, he's been phenomenal, mate, Rodri. He's been absolutely brilliant for you, isn't he? Yeah. And fair play to him because everyone's very sceptical. In his first season, obviously, we had a bad season, 19-20. He really struggled. But again, like I say, just takes time in a Guardiola system. And yeah, he just seems to have mastered that role now. Does exactly what's required. How would you feel if Liverpool did rock up with that system? Would that be a shock? I think it'd be a shock. I think City just basically struggle against fluid forwards. I think that is the best thing Liverpool could come with. Is just chuck them all Just play all 5 of them, yeah? Just go for it. 4-1-5.
Yeah. And just see what happens. Just counter attack. Yeah, fluid football. Bit of chaos.
To be fair, their fullbacks are like wingers as well. So what system would that be, Dan? 2-1-7 or something, wouldn't it? if they all played. If it was a free, what free would you want to play? Obviously Salah.
Yeah, Salah. I want to say Jota because he's the man in form and he gets the goals. But I always think that the style of play of Firmino suits us against City. Like I say, coming that deep and having that movement in behind is what causes the problems. Whereas Jota won't come that deep. He does, but not in the same way. He comes deep, but wide does Jota.
Yeah. Whereas
Firmino comes deep. He's almost in the centre circle. And I think it'll probably be them 3. And I think Mane would probably play, but I'd like to see Diaz there.
Do you think you're probably looking at 3 then of what Mane, Firmino, Salah, most likely for City? Yeah, I'm inclined maybe to agree with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we went with Diaz. I agree wholeheartedly what you say. He's a bit of a wild card and completely fearless at the moment. Like, he doesn't care. He just goes for people. He looks like a super signing for you, mate. Right, Johnny, I want to talk a little bit of FPL with you.
Okay.
He captained Gameweek 32. And I know you will know, and I know you've got a hangover, but I know that you will know. You will have a bus team set up. Dan won't.
Kane at the moment.
I'm looking now.
I'm giving him the opportunity to log in. But I know, Johnny, at 700th in the world or whatever you are at the moment, you'll know.
Yeah, Kane at the moment.
Not Salah.
Not Salah.
Dan, Salah captaincy? Oh, go on, Johnny. Now finish, please. Sorry.
Well, I imagine I'll let Dan answer because I imagine the next question will be how many sitting Liverpool players are you playing?
He's coming,
yeah, definitely not Salah. No Liverpool players against City. It'd probably be Kane or Son as well, I would have thought. However, going back to that, I didn't want you to bring up FPL because whoever wins FPL wins the league. And Johnny's walking it.
Well, you're miles behind, so you fucked either way, mate.
Well, I'm just hoping Chef Wednesday wins League One and
FPL Canal, is that who's on your tail, Johnny? We're not going to turn this into a Jonny Pringle's a brilliant FPL manager. Loving, but yes, basically, since we started Clash of the Correspondents, whoever has won, these are the only 2 lads who've ever won the Correspondent League, and whenever they've won it, their team's won the league, basically, which means Johnny's won it most of the time, obviously, and Dan's won it once. Now I keep telling Ricky Saunders to get his act together, but he's not doing enough about it, actually.
If I win it 3 times, do I keep the podcast?
You speak to Serge, send him an email, mate. To be honest, we might get a new City correspondent just to give someone else a chance, in fairness, mate. So come on in, let's talk about it a little bit because guys want to know that. I mean, that is the obvious first place to start. Salah captaincy. His effective ownership is still going to be massive, isn't it? Partly because of a lot of dead teams. I suppose most people are looking for something different for captaincy. But Dan, could you advise to still go with Salah this weekend?
Well, I don't think, if we were to beat City, let's face it, it's going to be a couple of goals maybe. Is it going to be Salah? I don't know. I would never captain anyone against City because they don't concede that many goals. I'd always look for someone else. And
you could quite conceivably go there and win 3-2, for example, couldn't you?
Well, I won't say quite conceivably. It could happen, but I think it's doubtful that City will let 3 in, unless it turns into, like Johnny keeps saying, like a chaos game.
Sorry, Johnny. For the benefit of the audio listeners, I was just waving my hand because I can only get a dig in every now and again. But yeah, it could go 3. City could win 3-2 and Salah could score twice, right? And in which case, he's probably the best captaincy choice, isn't he?
It's been great from a goal scoring or point scoring point of view at Salah for a while now. We mentioned it on the last podcast, and I said that he's still getting the chances, getting in the positions, and actually he's playing as well as he's ever played for Liverpool. And he's had a few setbacks internationally, obviously recently, losing the African Cups of Nations against Senegal and then crashing out of the World Cup. So I don't know if that will affect him from a confidence point of view. But if I was to if I was to captain a Liverpool player, it'd be Jota if I knew he was going to play over Salah. I just think he just scores every time he plays, doesn't he? He's just unreal, that guy.
Is there a case then to sell Salah?
I don't think there's a case to sell him, but if we're not gonna pay these ridiculous wages he wants, that just blows the wage structure out of the water. So if we don't settle on something, then he's going to have to go, isn't he? If he wants to go somewhere and get big money, then so be it. They're not going to buckle. Just, he does deserve to be the highest paid player in Liverpool, but we can't suddenly pay him 350, 400 grand a week just so because Harry Maguire or Varane is on more money than him or whoever. It's not, you have a structure in place for that reason. And actually Liverpool's structure is a lot of, it's performance-based and results-based. So actually bonuses are massive at Liverpool. And maybe for the incentivize the players and say, get a goal, you get, X amount of bonus, you get a win, X amount of bonus, win this trophy, get this far.
That's why he always looks so moody when he gets taken off, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's that 100 grand a goal or something.
It's probably just cost himself 15 grand or something.
Do you think, just very briefly, because I think we'll talk about it more nearer the time, do you think you'll stay?
I think he'll stay. I think he'll sign a new contract. Okay. If anyone likely to go, I'd say it's probably Mane.
Okay, Diaz is an obvious heir to the throne, if you will. I'm just looking at Salah's return since the hat-trick at Old Trafford in game week 9. There's 3 double-digit hauls, 2 of them in the same game week, the famous game week 26 against Leeds and Norwich. And the only other one's Everton away. So that's against 3 of the bottom 5. The big hauls have been. That's going back to game week 9. Now, listen, he's a consistent animal. And the thing with Mo is if he scores only 4 in 6 and people start questioning if he's in form or something, and that's basically where he's at when you look at his starts. But I think you raise an interesting point, Dan. So I've got Trent and Robertson and Salah at the moment. And I'm looking at it and going, I could downgrade Salah to Sonny this weekend and then go back for Jota and just go without. And the team you can have is phenomenal. But Salah is that brilliant safety blanket, isn't he? That he's so hard to overlook.
Yeah, it's his effective ownership, isn't it, that screws you over. And it depends where you are from an FPL perspective and what you want to do. If you're chasing mini leagues or whatever, if you're chasing, you go against him, don't you? If you want to, stabilise your position, then you probably keep him. Or I don't know. From FPL point of view, that's kind of out of the water for me this year. I've had a nightmare, but I just think Jota's more likely to score than Salah just recently.
Really go that far with it. But then we're saying if it's a front 3 on Sunday, he might not even start.
No, that's the issue. That's why I think if I knew he was going to play every week like Salah does, I think I'd have him over him. I've had him since the start of the season, Jota, until he got injured and then he came out. And I was umming and ahhing whether to downgrade Sonny and bring Jota in for this weekend. Glad I didn't, obviously, in hindsight. But yeah, I just think he's got an eye for goal, hasn't he?
So what have you got Liverpool-wise at the moment, Dan?
I've just got 2. I've got Salah and Trent. So
do you intend to start Trent away to Man City? Is there any case to leave him out?
I haven't seen my team to know what the others are up against, but it'd be there if others had. Yeah, I think I'd always play him. He's always, even though I don't expect a clean sheet, he could get an assist, he could get a goal. Who knows?
Jonny, I don't doubt for a second that you've probably got Trent.
Yeah, I've got Trent and Robertson, like you, James.
What's
and
the
Cancelo.
plan?
I put Cancelo in this week for Rudiger. I think I'm just going to play them all.
Yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Just don't overthink it. Any of them could go mad. I don't particularly expect either of them to keep clean sheets. But yeah, any of them could get goals, assists. I think it's just
that's it, isn't it? Particularly for the defensive guys, like it could be 2-2, 3-3, and they might all get an attack in return.
Yeah. The alternative I've got is the other defender on the bench is Ben Davis away at Villa, who you would say is maybe you would say is maybe slightly more likely to keep a clean sheet. But
it's just the upside of the others just isn't worth it.
I think when you look at the fixture in terms of what you might be bringing in, there'll be people listening who've got that trio: Trent, Robertson, and Cancelo. What are you bringing in instead? I mean, you can make a case to perhaps sell for a Chelsea player, but playing Tottenham defender away to Villa instead. I mean, maybe if it was like Doherty at the moment because of how much he's getting in the box and stuff, maybe Arsenal have got a very good fixture at home to Brighton. But I mean, would you consider I'm going to play Connor Cody at Newcastle instead? I mean, that doesn't sound right, does it?
Nah.
I think I'll play them all personally.
Yeah, just play them all, see what happens. Don't overthink it.
Any case to sell any of them? Those three defensively: Cancelo, Trent, Robertson.
I put Robertson in for double game week 28 in for Cancelo. Originally planning to get Cancelo back. I'm glad I've got Cancelo back. But I was originally planning to do Robertson to Cancelo. But I did Rudiger in the end just because Robertson's just looking so good. And I want Reece James on. So that was my decision this week, was to go Cancelo or James, and I've fallen on the right side of that decision this week, luckily. But yeah, I just can't. Trent and Robertson are just back to their point scoring best. I don't think you can sell any of them for it at the moment.
No. Would you make any case for Luis Diaz, Dan, as an asset? I guess you're going to say no over Jota, basically.
Yeah, no over Jota, and no because he's less likely to get minutes than Jota as well. But I think everyone's going to get minutes, aren't they? With them fixtures I mentioned before, we've got. I think there's five days between us and this game against Benfica on Tuesday, and then obviously City. And after that, I think we've got three games within 3 days of each other, and then 4 days after the final one against Everton. So rotation is going to have to be used at some point, and we've got the squad to be able to do that now. So
yeah, any thoughts to saying Salah for you, Jonny?
Selling Salah, I don't think so. Looking at his numbers, actually, I didn't realise they were quite that bad since the United game. But you just look at the numbers.
We can't call him bad, can we?
Okay, yeah, not up to his same.
But I think, for example, Son's outscored him over the last, 3 months or so. Actually, I think now.
Yeah. But when you just look back at his numbers, it's just so reliable. In fact, he's on pens as well. I think the thing is, he's just so greedy as well. Like, he's just so selfish, isn't it? It's dead obvious that he always wants to golden boot. And I think the important thing is as well with players like that is Liverpool will be 3 or 4-0 up. If Salah hasn't scored, he's busting a gut to get on the score sheet. Whereas other players will just be like, I'll just relax, just see the game out. But that Salah's always desperate to score. Always desperate to score more goals, and that's the sort of greed that you want players like him and Kane. He'll just stay to the end of the season for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little tempted because I've still got the wild card in hand. I'm a little tempted to maybe come off for the game on the weekend, and then maybe for 33, and then maybe just go straight back in for the Merseyside derby. I'm a little tempted, maybe.
Yeah, something like that I think could work.
But then I didn't captain Salah at Old Trafford earlier in the season, and having watched United again on Saturday, I could only see you murdering them, to be honest, Dan. So I'm not sure I really want to go down that route. Jonny, what City you got? What City have you got currently?
Just Cancelo. I just got him back. I didn't have any before this week, and I just put him back in.
I presume you won't add this week.
No.
What's your thinking going forward? I realise it's a mess from a rotation perspective, as per always.
Yeah, just the fact that obviously, the fact that Liverpool have closed the gap have meant that probably more play. Last year was just a disaster, wasn't it? Towards the end of the league, there was just no, consistent. Well, to be fair, there was consistency because it was almost like a second string player, wasn't it? Torres was in a lot of people's teams.
The title was done, wasn't it? Very early.
Yeah,
actually.
you can see the strength. I don't know. I'm tempted by Mahrez, to be honest, for the running. If he was to twist my arm on any of the attackers, Foden, obviously, I think his output's dropped off a little bit slightly. But yeah, we'll see. I might see if I can make room for Mahrez. But with the other mid-price midfielders doing so well at the moment, Saka, Kulusevski, players like that, I'm not even sure if I'll bother trying to get
Jared Bowen back fit as well. West Ham,
I'm not even bothered.
interesting fixtures.
Like I say, I'm not even bothered about trying to fit in a City midfielder at the moment, and I'm probably just Cancelo.
Could you make a case of any of them City midfielders, Mahrez, Foden, the like, being better options than Jota?
I don't think so. I really like Jota as well. Like Dan says, just has a real eye for goal, clinical, isn't he? You just know he's just playing up front. I don't think so. Yeah, just the typical rotation aspect. De Bruyne is obviously in such good form. That would maybe be an alternative if you wanted to gamble against Salah.
It's interesting. We did a piece on De Bruyne a number of weeks back about his home returns versus his away returns. I know obviously he scored at Burnley on Saturday, but his home returns are pretty mad. And
just looking at it now. Yeah.
I always call him Big Game Kev because I feel like it, to be honest, if you said to me, right, captain one player from the weekend just as a 1 week free hit, I'd be tempted to say Kevin De Bruyne because he just always in the big games turns up, scored at Anfield earlier in the season. He scored against Liverpool in the past at Etihad. And his home numbers are mad, aren't they, Johnny? I think he's averaging about 8 points per game in home games, I think, this season.
Yeah. And then you look at the rest of our home fixtures, Brighton, Watford, Newcastle, Villa.
How many did you start? One?
Yeah, maybe. Again, it's just a typical scenario, isn't it? Like, it's a great option, but 12 mil to not play 1 week because Pep decides to be an idiot. Be painful.
Have you got wild card left, Johnny?
No, I've got two. I've got two free hits left. They're the 2 chips I've got left. Slightly regret not playing one of them in 30 the way that it's worked out because I think 33 isn't looking as good for a free hit. I think the plan was just hold them both for 33 and 36, but I might go somewhere else. But I think the upside in 30 was there, especially with the late Rafinha and the Ramsdale news. But yeah, just 2 free hits for me.
So you're not going to use it in 33, to clarify?
Might do. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure one's locked in 36, but you're not allowed to play them 2 in a row, are you?
No, you can't play them 2 weeks in a row. No.
Which I think is a bullshit rule, to be honhonest. I don't see a reason.
To be fair, we were only meant to have one, Johnny. So
yeah, I think the developers have been lazy there, and the way that the team resets back they haven't catered for it. I think they probably just rushed that in. But I think it would have been 36 and 37. It might end up just saving it to the last day of the season just for a bit of fun. But you need to just try and, if there's a little bit of upside in 33 that you can squeeze out of it, it might still be worth it. But I mean,
the thing is with 33, because I don't know if I'm using a free hit in 33 either yet. I look at your 2 fixtures. Dan, you've got United at home. And I mean, I wouldn't have a doubt about it at the moment. I'd have no qualms playing my 3 Liverpool players that night. Plus, I know they're all going to play that night as well. It's probably not a rotation risk from that perspective, despite the semi-final being beforehand and before the deadline. For yourself, Johnny, a little bit more difficult because you've got Brighton on the Wednesday after the semi-final, and then you've got Watford in your next league game before Champions League semi-final if you go through. And those 2 fixtures are ripe for the rotation, aren't they? Brighton and Watford particularly. So yeah, a little bit more difficult. But I've got Cancelo. I don't want to free hit him out. I forgot Cancelo. I'll go and get Fabian Schär because it's got double. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it just stinks of just overthinking it. I think there's actually potential for free hitters in 33 to actually have a negative impact if the single game week is hit it.
Do you think there's a case for people who, and I'm sure there'd be someone listening who's got 6 players from City, Liverpool. Do you think there's a case to free hit this week? And just ignore, I thought about it. And just ignore the 2 teams.
I thought about it, but the other games aren't that good.
Yeah, I agree.
Like if if Spurs had like Norwich at home and Chelsea had Burnley at home or something.
I think even if Tottenham and Chelsea had those 2 fixtures at home rather than away, that would maybe tempt you. But
you might go to there, but no.
No, United have got Everton away as well. I think if they were all the other way around and at home, you'd make more of a case for it. But yeah, I agree. And as we said, like Cancelo, Robertson, Trent, and that, they could all still go off this week as well. Are you comfortable, Johnny, potentially only having 1 City player for the run-in then? And is that impacted by kind of what you said, like the prices of people like Saka and Kulusevski and Bowen potentially?
Yeah, I think so. I'm happy with that for now. There's a little 3 game period, isn't there? Like, I think Watford, Leeds and Newcastle is a good little run if you can get a player nailed for that. But I think that might be the period to maybe try and sneak a City mid in. But like I say, at the moment, I've got no interest, so I am comfortable with it. If
you win the next few and Liverpool say lose to yourselves and then don't beat United, we're all looking at Edison in a few weeks, aren't we? Going at least he'll play twice in the double and stuff like that. It happens every year, doesn't it? It's like, I can't be bothered with this shit. I need City defensive coverage. I better have Edison. Do you think, Jonny, your running is better than Liverpool's?
Not particularly. I think Liverpool have got the harder home games. We've got the harder away games.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
The two run-ins. We've got, I think, the two fixtures, obviously apart from the Liverpool game, that look tricky are West Ham and Wolves away.
Which could end up, Wolves could end up right at the end.
That will be an interesting week, won't it? Because like you said, James, I think it's that Liverpool could be playing Southampton away and we could be playing Wolves away.
Yeah.
In that last midweek. If it's neck and neck,
and they're not easy.
That'd be a really interesting night. That'd be like a night for a slip up from one of the two.
As a neutral, by the way, Sky, if you're listening, put them on at the same time. None of this one team's got an advantage. Put them both on 8:00 on the Thursday night. City at Wolves, Liverpool at Southampton. Let's go. Let's do it. That. By the way, I think that's how it should be. Penultimate game of the season. I think you should play at the same time. It won't happen, but
yeah, if it was that. But yeah, just going back, Liverpool have got what's it? Yeah, it's not a tough game, is it? Everton's not. Spurs will be. Wolves at home will be. There's maybe a couple like a little bit more scope for like banana skin fixtures for Liverpool, but I don't think there's much in it.
Dan, you nodded immediately when I asked that question. Basically, did City have the easier running? You were nodding straight away.
I just think, yeah, like Jonny said, yes, they are home games, but we've got home games against United, our biggest rival, Everton, our second biggest rival, Tottenham, who, as you know, can turn anyone over at any time, depending on which Tottenham turn up, and actually they've started to click into gear.
This only happens against Man City.
And Wolves, who look really good. We've got a couple of away games against Newcastle and Southampton, which I'd expect 6 points from them too. But it's not so much the calibre of the opposition; it's the tie, isn't it? It's when we're looking at United and Everton, it's a derby. So form and everything goes out the window. Everton are fighting for their lives. United will be wanting to turn around that 5-0 spanking we gave them earlier in the season. It's there's a.
Mind you, even the away games for yourselves, I wouldn't say they're straightforward for Dan's team either. Obviously, City this weekend, obviously. Newcastle away, all right, I know my team's just giving them a slapping, but St James's is a completely different vibe to what it has been now. Villa away, that's going to be like Steven Gerrard, 24 hours Sky Sports News, whenever that game happens to be. And then Southampton. So, away games are a little tricky as well. It'd be some feat if you won everything left this time, Dan, I think.
Yeah, no, of course it would, and if we did, we'd win the league. But
the caveat is you're bloody capable. By the way, is the caveat to that as well. You're extremely capable of winning all the games.
People might argue that Gerrard also won, so he might throw the Villa game for us. And
we're all expecting that to happen. To be honest, that's the easiest game you've got left is Aston Villa.
Yeah, well, I'd argue Southampton with the form they're in.
They're a little yo-yo, aren't they? They're aside. They beat you at St Mary's last year as well, didn't they? When they had like half a team out. I know that was in the middle of your pretty dark run and stuff, or at the start of it rather. But
it's all about momentum, isn't it? And at the moment, we've got good momentum. The squad's buzzing. They're winning and winning and winning and not even playing well, which is always a good sign. It just depends, if we get something from the City game, if we win it, then the sales are going to be up even more and confidence is going to be higher. And then you don't know what's going to happen with injuries.
I think, and I genuinely, by the way, lads, I've got literally no preference which one of you two wins it. I honestly don't care. I just hope it goes to the wire to make it great as a neutral. But I do think if City do win on Sunday, I look at City's next four in the league: Brighton at home, Watford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, and I feel like just putting them 12 points on the board, to be honest. And that's got to be a concern for Liverpool. Whereas you go there, even if you get a point at the weekend, and I agree with you, I think points not the worst, Dan. Take it to the end, and some mad shit could happen. I agree. But you've obviously got to keep winning beyond that if that's what the score is. I wish you both the very best of luck, guys. Genuinely. And by the way, I just think actually from a neutral perspective, congratulations to both your teams for what you've given us for the last few years as well. And long may it continue in terms of the quality that the two of you are providing for the neutral. It's great stuff. Let's do a prediction for Sunday then, guys, before we finish. Jonny, home team, off you go.
I can see it being a draw. I think both teams might be happy with a draw. I think City, he'd probably, if he was to offer it Pep, I think he'd just keep the lead, stay on top after this game and back ourselves to see it out. I think if he was to offer Liverpool the draw as well, with the momentum they've got, I think they'd take that as well. And I think you might see that sort of creep into the game. I know Dan alluded to the 1-1 at the start of last season, but I think we both started to settle for a point after about an hour.
The first half in that game at the Etihad last year was incredible, and then it felt like you both settled for it second half. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it followed a sort of similar pattern, if it was like 1-1 and then both teams decided to sort of shake hands.
I don't know about shake hands, mate. Not for this one, I don't think.
I think in my head, I think says 1-1.
Go on, Dan.
5-0 Liverpool.
Good lad.
Yeah. No, 1-1 as well. Yeah, I agree.
Why did I know that the two of you were both going to bottle it?
I'll take a 1-1. And just see how it plays out.
It's interesting that, because I think, you're both right. I feel like every fan would arguably take it from the two clubs and go, let's just get this out of the way and concentrate on ourselves afterwards. And oddly, I think like the draw is probably a better result for you, Jonny, actually. If you win it with those 4 games I said afterwards, I think it'd be yours, mate. I'm also going to bottle it. I'm also going to go 1-1, but I have a little feeling that it might be chaos, like a 4-3, like a 4-3 or something. I feel like the fixture has that possibility.
Yeah.
But
there's enough quality there to be a 4-3, isn't there?
Without doubt. You've got the 2 best fullbacks in the world, the 2 best goalkeepers in the world. Yeah, it's definitely got the capability to be a 4-3, but it has, because when the two of you go for it, each other is just a pleasure to watch. I mean, those are the best. When the City Liverpool games have been great, it's been the best watch of any games over the last few years. That first half, to do that behind closed doors last year was a joke. That first half at the Etihad, it was probably best half of the season. And then, as we said, I think you both went, enough of this. We're swinging punches and it's still the same. Let's just get this over and done with. Guys, thanks so much for your time. Genuinely wish you both best of luck in the league, cup semi-final, and in the Champions League as well. Jonny, where can everyone follow you on the bird app, mate?
At FPL Pringle.
And can someone catch him in the Correspondent League, for God's sakes? Step up, Correspondents. And Dan, where can they follow you, mate?
FPL_local Lord, and I'm with you, James. Can someone catch him? Because this voodoo of winning the league and winning that is might work in my favour. So I'm rooting for Neil Curra, who's FPL Canal, and he's right up there. And if Chef Wednesday win the league, then there we go. I'm happy with that.
Dan, if you want to send me a brown envelope, I can accidentally delete him if you want, mate.
I've never thought of that. Yeah.
Well, think about it now. Thanks so much, guys. Sid will be back tomorrow. Unusually, we'll do the main podcast on a Tuesday, reviewing all the game week 31 action. Does mean we can include the Palace Arsenal game in our analysis. Another Clash of Correspondents to come for you on Thursday. Brentford, what a super win for them on Saturday with FPL Dummy Tom against West Ham with FPL Sky Addict. That'll be available for you on Thursday. But again, thanks to Jonny and to Dan. Cue music, please, man child.